I don't know how quickly, because I would say quickly, but we always get into these beautiful talks. So I don't know how quickly, but switching to the Mexican national team with international soccer coming up and international soccer in general, the EPL said they will not let the players leave who are on England's quote unquote red list who play for those specific countries. They will not let them leave and play World Cup qualifying for this next cycle, which includes about 60 players from 19 teams. And quite frankly, it just mainly represents South America, a lot of Latin America, a lot of African countries. If you want to read between the lines,
What do they call it? Environmental racism? What do they call that?
Yeah, right. Yes. Not environmental, but I know what you're talking about.
But they do have that environmental one where it's like, I don't know, people don't have resources, and based on the resources they got, like for example, like medical care and like infrastructure, but that they have that here in this country. But no, it is like, it's systemic, a lot of systemic.
Yeah, I mean, we can get quickly into the fact that Uruguay has one of the lowest percentages, has the lower percentage of COVID of COVID cases than, for example, the United States and specific Tennessee, where the U.S. will be playing the World Cup qualifying game, where they have it through most of Europe. They have better percentages than they do through most of Europe, but they just kind of blacklisted or red listed all of South America. This affects Mexico with Raúl Jiménez, who happily has played with Wolves 2 games in a row, started both games, but now he won't be able to play for Mexico. He won't be able to call up. This affects this pretty much affects all of CONMEBOL teams, and I believe La Liga also jumped on board with this as well, and to CONMEBOL players only. But I mean, what's your overall thought about this, Guti? Because there's a lot of ways, a lot of feelings to take it, a lot of ways to go through it. You know what I mean?
So it was only EPL and La Liga. It wasn't like the French league or anybody else.
So far from what I've said, EPL and then La Liga.
Know if like
La
now all of
Liga
a sudden Messi can go to play for Argentina because he's playing in France.
I think La Liga said they'll do the same thing with the CONMEBOL countries. So no, just South America. It's the funniest thing for me was the EPL said they reluctantly, and you want to throw like a little like wink in there, that they reluctantly are going to let their players go or won't let their players play for World Cup qualifying, which I find funny because no club wants to let their players leave and play games that's not there. So for all the reasons, travel, injuries, all these different things. So for the EPL to kind of just say we reluctantly have to inform you guys you can't leave, full of BS. But I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts about that? Where are we at?
I mean, there's a couple layers to it, but I think, obviously they can just, I don't think they're doing this, obviously, like, okay, these people can't go to this country. I think obviously they're going based off what their country's allowing. There's all kinds of politics involved, but they obviously are saying, look, people can't be traveling back and forth, and it could be associated with their travel restrictions that they have right now based on who's coming from where. So I don't want to believe that they have this like vendetta towards certain countries. That's not it for sure. And obviously it does affect Raúl Jiménez. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, okay, is it the Italian league too? Serie A?
I haven't seen anything from the Italian league.
The reason I asked is I just want to know, like, is it a certain league? I mean, we're talking about, because then like, yeah, it's a World Cup qualifiers, right? So FIFA has to step in on this and say, like, look, these players, we want a World Cup that has some of the best players available in the world. And so, the same way you could play your EPL games, you got to find a way for, these guys to be able to travel back and forth. I mean, I understand when they come back that the quarantine, and that was a problem last time. So, it is very biased. It is very messed up because now you're saying like, okay, Alfonso Davies can go fly back and play for Canada, and Pulisic can come back and play for USA, but Mexico, any guys you guys have in Europe can't play for you because, the access to, vaccine and the access to medical attention is not developed enough in your country, right? So that your professional soccer players can't fly back to play. I find that kind of obviously wrong, because, obviously, like you said, per capita, Uruguay has better rates than the United States. But but like it's just one or two guys traveling. I mean, they're not going to stop or slow down the spread of this, virus.
And it also just messes up the integrity. You know what I mean? When you for this World Cup qualifying, these aren't friendlies. These are qualifying. These teams are trying to qualify for the World Cup. And, it affects like a country like Brazil when you can look at all the players that Brazil has playing in both Spain and La Liga. It really for CONCACAF. For me, it really sucks for like Jamaica, who made all this effort to get all these dual nationals between Jamaica, all these dual Jamaican English players. Like they came up with a plan. They had this idea to pitch all these players, this idea to play for Jamaica, and now all this work and all this goodwill they built up and this plan they've had in place, now it's kind of get derailed. You know what I mean? Like now they can't. Now half of their roster is going to be missing, and it sucks for them because I think we've talked about in the past with CONCACAF and this octagon coming up, how it looks pretty wide open for some of these spots, with some teams going down in quality and some teams coming up. And Jamaica looked like one of these teams who had a possibility if they got the right results and with some of the players they were going to bring in, that they really could have made a good push to challenge for a World Cup spot. And now they're going to start off on the back foot. And so I think for that, like for me, that's what I think about, like a team like Jamaica like that. It's like so tough.
And it's gonna keep popping up though, because I mean, I know that's weird. Like the European players can't come over. It's obviously not fair because if there was European World Cup qualifiers, they would allow their players to go to other countries and play. I mean, there's no way UEFA's like, no, England can't play Spain. It's like, what? Like they're gonna have to travel to their country, right? So guys are still mixing around. It's kind of like, we know why they're doing it. I mean, we know what's up. We know it's not fair, but this sport is really not set up to be fair the way it is, FIFA. So I don't know, man. Like you said, Jamaica came to mind right now when you said it too. I was like, man, that is dirty. Jamaica's going to be without some players. Mexico's going to be without fans. So it's going to be a weird round one for sure.
Yeah. And we also, we don't know how long it's going to last. It could go into the October qualifiers and maybe even the November qualifiers. And at that point, you're talking about over half the matches. I mean, if you go into October, you're talking about 6 of the 14 matches. Now that's almost half. That's almost half right there. So
I gotta imagine people are on the phone right now trying to make this rule change. I mean, there's no way. Like the South American teams are totally affected by it because all their players are in Europe. But like, Mexico, for example, okay, they play against Jamaica. They're gonna be like, well, we can still try to do with whatever we got. But like, you go play USA, and the USA gets to bring, all their players from the same league, the EPL, or same leagues, and then you got guys. No, you can't go, a certain amount of miles south. I don't know.
Yeah, yep. It'll be interesting the way it folds out, but yeah, it's super unfortunate. It's
or you move the Mexico. Hey, you move the Mexico USA game. You move it to LA. You make it a home game, and then you say, "Oh, they're not coming to Mexico; they're flying to US."
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, they want that one.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with it because it's super unfortunate, and I mean, there's definitely layers of prejudice and underlying past prejudice of other parts of the world that aren't specific to those of England and or Spain.